everybody, welcome back to the channel. So I finally got out to the movies to see Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. So this is going to be sort of just my hot take review of the movie. I'm sure my opinions of the movie will change the more I see it. So this is just kind of my first initial reactions to Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. So, first thing is, I don't think this movie is as bad as the Rotten Tomatoes critic score says it is, but I also don't think it's as great as the Rotten Tomatoes audience score says it is. I would say it's actually kind of in the middle, probably about 65 to 70 is what I would probably give this movie. So, it's not that bad. There's a lot of fun in here, but it's not as great as some people think. I think there are a lot of problems. The more you probably think about it, the more problems you'll find. But there is some fun in here. I had a good time at the movies. I thought there was some enjoyable stuff in here. I liked a lot of the movie. So let's talk about the things that I liked first. One of the things that I like is I did not like Ant-Man and the Wasp second movie, partially because I think they just didn't do enough with the Scott Lang Ant-Man character. He was too goofy. He wasn't competent. He wasn't capable. He didn't do enough with the Ant-Man suit because it was broken. This movie fixed pretty much all the complaints that I've had about Scott Lang and the Ant-Man character. He's goofy because that's just who he is naturally, but when it comes down to it, when things are serious, he is confident, he's capable, he can take care of business. I like when Cassie first has her suit on and she doesn't really know how to fight with it, and Scott teaches her how to do the little jump and punch thing that shows that he is capable and he knows how to use the suit in a fight very well. So I do think that they fixed the Scott Lang character. He's not overly goofy. I think they got him right in this movie. They didn't do enough with the Wasp character, but they did do a lot with Janet Van Dyne, and she was great in this movie. So I really liked that. Michelle Pfeiffer had a great performance. Also, I think Kang was a really good villain. Jonathan Majors was great in the role. There's some problems with him, sure, that you kind of have to overlook a little bit, but overall I think he was very good in the movie. Hank, I think, was used pretty well as well, and I thought a lot of the action was done pretty well also. And then, of course, I just like a lot of the little references they have to the MCU. The events of Endgame and Scott with his book publishing and all that stuff was really fun as well. So, and I thought some of the comedy was really good. I know maybe some people didn't like that little blob character that's obsessed with holes. I thought he was pretty funny. I liked his line of, Scott's like, "Are those buildings alive?" And he's like, "Yours are dead?" Like, the sincerity in that was, I thought, hilarious. So there, and I also liked I think her name was Gentoro, the leader of the rebels. She was a pretty badass character. So there was some good stuff in here. I thought it was a lot of fun with all of that. There's also some bad stuff in here as well. The freedom fighters, I know a lot of people are complaining you could take them out of the movie and the movie doesn't change. I think I understand what they were trying to go for with the freedom fighters, but I do kind of agree that they didn't play enough of an important role in the movie. So that is a little bit of a ding. The other thing I would say is this movie does suffer from not great writing, in terms of specifically Kang, and then also Scott and Cassie's relationship. I really think that we could have done a lot more there to get us emotionally invested into these characters. The trailer for the movie misleads us into thinking that Kang is trying to tempt Scott by getting time back with his daughter, when that line is actually said to Janet in the movie. I think that's a missed opportunity. I think it would have been better had we had seen Kang say that line to Janet, and Janet turns him down, and then Kang says it to Scott, and Scott has to really consider it. Because when you think about it, Scott has really missed a lot of his time with Cassie. He was in prison for years when she was little, then he came back, and then he was on house arrest for a couple years, and then he got blipped for 5 years, and now she's a teenager all of a sudden. So he's really hasn't been there for most of her life. And I think if that was maybe an underlying motivator for both of them, like maybe, when she was a kid, she didn't really care because she was just so excited to see her dad. But now that she's a teenager, maybe she kind of resents that he put being a thief and being Ant-Man and being an Avenger above her, and maybe that's why she's rebelling and getting, sent to jail and all this stuff and not telling him, keeping secrets. That could have been a motivator for her, and then it could have also, played into maybe Scott's guilt of, being tempted by Kang to do this thing for him. So that could have been a really good route. We could have had the emotional hook there. Unfortunately, they didn't do that, and so they just did the evil thing of Kang is like Darth Vader, and he's like, "You'll do as I say, or I'll kill your, force choke your daughter." And so Scott's like, "Okay, well, I'll have to then." So that, I think, is kind of bad writing. Also, everything with Kang, I think, one of the problems with the MCU is they, so far since Phase 4 started, they've had things that haven't connected yet. So what I wanted this movie to do, and maybe that's just me, but I think a lot of us wanted this movie to sort of connect with what we saw at the end of Loki Season 1, that variant of Kang there. How does this version of Kang and all the timelines they're talking about, how does that play in with what happened at the end of Loki Season 1? And that's not explained, and it almost kind of makes things a little bit more confusing, because at the end of Loki Season 1, we were told that killing that Kang variant is going to unleash the multiple timelines, and all the Kangs are going to return. In this movie, all the Kangs are already there. They never went away. So, how does any of that connect? Also, are alternate timelines in the same universe? Is that the same thing as different multiverses? Do alternate timelines create the multiverse? They're just getting really muddled with all of this multiverse stuff. And that's definitely a problem in this movie as well. Especially when we see those end credit scenes. So maybe Loki Season 2 will explain a little bit of this Kang stuff, as we see in the end credits, one of the end credits scene. I'm hoping. Also, I know a lot of us were hoping that maybe the Quantum Realm and Kang were going to connect to the 10 Rings or Miss Marvel's bangle. We did not get any of that. Those are still left unexplained. What was the signal that the 10 Rings were calling out to? We thought maybe it was in the Quantum Realm, but apparently not. So that's another thread that we still don't know about. And it doesn't necessarily have to be connected to Kang, but it's just another little detail that we thought, oh, maybe it is, and that'll explain things, and still we don't have things explained. So this movie still raises a lot more questions about the overall state of the MCU as it is, and I think that's a disappointment in that we're not getting the answers that we really want. And so I do think that maybe one of the criticisms of this movie, of why people maybe don't like it, is because we were expecting this to be, they kept saying it's an Avenger level threat, and it's going to be big, and we're going to get reveals and stuff, and we didn't really get that. We just got more muddled questions. We don't get any answers, and I think that definitely is a problem that people are starting to pick up on with the MCU, particularly the critics, I think, which is why maybe they gave it a lower score. I definitely don't think this or Eternals deserve that low Rotten Tomato score. Those, in my opinion, are definitely better movies than, say, Thor: The Dark World or Ant-Man and the Wasp, or, in my opinion, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and Thor: Love and Thunder. So I think this is kind of just around the middle. I would put this maybe like around, maybe under Captain Marvel, under Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, somewhere right around there in terms of my personal rankings of the MCU movies. But there is some good stuff here. I did like a lot of the jokes. I think there was a lot of fun. Another big problem, I think, is the Quantum Realm at times seemed too Star Wars-y. Like, just these, vast... And it partly, I think, is because they use the volume stage that they use in the Mandalorian show. And it's just too CGI, and you have a lot of creature designs and stuff. But also there's, humanoid-looking characters, like some of the Freedom Fighters and Bill Murray's character. And so, how did they end up in the Quantum Realm? How did any of this begin? They don't explain the quantum realm at all. I think the most we get is Janet says there's like layers to the quantum realm, and that's why Hank could never see the actual vastness of the quantum realm because they couldn't see past a certain layer or something. So they just kind of muddle the quantum realm stuff up again. But, and I do think these are all greater problems of the MCU, not to be blamed completely on this one movie. But it is kind of a problem when we think about it. But again, I do think there's a lot of fun stuff in here. I really do love what they did with Janet's character, teasing out her time in the quantum realm and how she met Kang and all of that stuff. I thought that was really great. I love when Hank came in at the end with the ants. Again, I think Hank is one of my favorite characters in the MCU. I think Michael Douglas plays him perfectly, and he's a lot of fun. He's totally a dick sometimes, but in a fun way, kind of. And so I really like that and his relationship, seeing him with Janet reunited. I wish Wasp, Hope, got to do a little bit more in this. She really doesn't until the end of the movie. Cassie was fine. I thought she could have been done a little bit better. I think she was a little too angsty for unknown reasons. Again, had we played into that motivation of maybe she's secretly mad at her dad for being gone most of her life, that could have really elevated the character a bit. So I definitely think this movie is pretty good. It's okay. It suffers from kind of not great writing. It kind of at times feels like we're just throwing in sketch jokes and we don't have a cohesive narrative going on here or character arcs. And that's a greater MCU problem that I shouldn't be pinning on this one particular movie, but it is a problem in this movie. So anyway, those are kind of my initial thoughts on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I think it's not that bad. I think there is some fun to be had in here. I think, the more you think about it, I think you can find a lot more flaws, but as you're watching it go on, I think it's pretty enjoyable. It's a pretty entertaining time. So I know I like the bookend that we have of Scott narrating, although I will say we don't have Luis and the friends in this. We don't even have Cassie's mom. She's mentioned, but I think the lack of the greater Ant-Man characters that we've had in the first two movies is a little bit of a problem also. We could have had Luis narrating the beginning and the end. That could have been fun. So that is also another problem. But I do like seeing those references at the beginning and the end and stuff like that and connecting to the MCU. And I almost actually expected, as he was walking down at the sidewalk at the end, thinking about, did they make a mistake or something? I almost expected Shang-Chi to pop out and approach him. That I thought would have been a really cool cameo for Shang-Chi because they're both in San Francisco. But that didn't happen either. So I do think this movie's pretty good. It's kind of middle MCU. I definitely watch it again when it comes out on Disney Plus. To me, I think it's better than Thor: Love and Thunder, better than Multiverse of Madness, and a couple other Phase 4 projects. To me, it's not the worst that the MCU has to offer, but it is, I think, kind of the cracks of the greater MCU have just, they're showing too much, and then this movie's suffering from that. But I still think it's pretty fun, so check it out if you haven't seen it. If you're slightly interested, I think you might have a good time. Just lower your expectations like I did, because I thought this is going to be great, and then the reviews came out, so I lowered my expectations, and I actually kind of enjoyed it. So lower your expectations, go in, have a good time, try not to think too much about it, and that's it. So those are my thoughts on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Like I said, they might change the more I watch the movie. This is kind of just my hot take thoughts right now. So thank you all for watching the video. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button if you like it. Subscribe to the channel for more Marvel reviews as we start Marvel Phase 4 with WandaVision coming up. So look out for that. If you want to help support the channel some more, you can check the link down in the description below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. And until next time, guys, thank you, Spider-Man. Bye.